Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from today. My name is Mosunlayode. I'm the Executive Director at African Philanthropy Forum, and we're truly grateful to have you with us today. This is an exceedingly busy time of the year, so we feel really honored that you made time to join us for our conversation on Orange the World. This conversation is very important because it's in the middle of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And we have been having conversations around gender justice and digital technology for several years now. It's been a 2-year series. For those of you who have joined us since inception of this series, thank you for staying with us and joining all our conversations over the months. And if you're joining us for the very first time, you're very much welcome. And we will share more information about where you can get the resources that have come out of the conversations we've had over time. And it's important to just speak a little bit about why we chose today to launch what we're calling our white paper because it really fits within the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. For those who are familiar with this movement, it is a movement that unites global efforts to end gender-based violence, and it reminds us that gender justice still is underfunded globally. At a time when funding for gender initiatives is being cut worldwide, this campaign provides a critical moment for philanthropic actors in Africa to reflect and renew their commitment to action. Beyond this, there is urgency of advancing gender justice funding. With only 5 years left, I am not sure when and how I disappeared, but again, we're happy to have you. And I was just talking about the urgency of the time that we are currently living in. Even as the AI revolution unfolds, we face the risk of inequality being coded into the future if lessons from the past are ignored. Currently, women make up 29% of the global tech workforce, 14% of tech leadership roles, and 28% of women's jobs are at risk from AI, compared to 21 for men. Closing the gender digital divide could empower over 300 million women and girls and unlock $1.5 trillion in global growth by 2030. So this is a very important conversation, an area that we should be focusing and dedicating our resources in. And what is the role of philanthropy in all of this? It holds tremendous potential to close the gender digital gap. As a leading convening platform for philanthropy in Africa, we at APF aim for this session to share insights on how philanthropy can better engage with gender and digital realities based on the white paper and provide a space to hear your experiences and ideas on doing better together. And so I would like to make a call to action, even though this is at the beginning. Call to actions are usually at the end, but this is important because we see this as a conversation that involves all of us. There is no we don't have a keynote, we don't have a panel. We want conversations and we want to draw you all in. So we encourage you to engage thoughtfully and contribute actively during the discussions. You can do so via the chat section. You can put up your hand when we open up for contributions from those in the room. And we invite you to visit our website to read the new publication that we're putting out today and explore how we can advance gender justice together. And at this point, I would like to warmly welcome our program manager, Yinka Shitu, to give highlights of the gender justice collection that we have put together over the past few months. Welcome, Yinka.
Hello,
Yinka,
everyone. Thank you for joining us. You would assume that I just started using Zoom given the difficulty I just experienced. Before we go into the nitty-gritty of the white paper, we'd like to thank you again for joining us. And we wanted to do a little exercise. So if you would all very quickly look to your screens, if you are not already doing so, a quiz is going to pop up. And we want to test just how much you know about gender justice, about digital rights, about what philanthropy is doing, should be doing before we go ahead. So are we all ready for a little challenge? I'd like to see emojis if you're ready. Okay, I see people are excited. All right, in five. Okay, are we all ready to go? I want to see two more emojis before I go ahead. Right, so I am now a host for the meeting and I will launch the poll in a few seconds. In the meantime, if you're just joining us, please let us know in the chat where you're joining us from, what organization you represent. Okay, Osarima, if you kindly launch the poll. Okay, everyone. Please let me know in the chat if you can see the poll now. Okay. I see representatives from Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. We will be launching that shortly, as soon as I'm admin. Okay. While just before the poll launches, I want to give you guys a bit of a teaser because you came in early. You will be getting the QR code that allows you to download the white paper shortly. All right. Are we all ready? I see where it's good. How well do you know the landscape? Are we ready to go? Question number one, how many individuals representing philanthropists, foundations, and activists and rights groups have participated in the series? Now, this is a bit of a hard question, but don't worry, there's no wrong answer. Or maybe there is. So just take a wild guess. Is it 1,000? Is it 1,500? Is it 1,700? Because we've had about 10 virtual convenings over the last 10 years. So what do you think the number might be? Let's see how good you are with figures. Okay. The second question, what proportion of global philanthropic funding is estimated to directly support gender equality work? Is it less than 2%? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Is it 100%? Well, clearly not, which is why we're doing this work, because we believe that more funding should be coming in this direction. So feel free to vote. Okay. The third question, most funding for gender justice in digital technology goes directly to women-led organizations. Is this true or is this false? I see some people are even way ahead of what I'm reading, but okay. I'd like to see your opinions. Which African country has the biggest percentage of women occupied in STEM field? Is it South Africa? Is it Cape Verde? Is it Mauritius? Is it Central African Republic? I want to see what you think. All right. So at this juncture, I will stop reading the questions because I imagine, you all can do that yourselves. But yes, I'd like to know what you think. If you are done with the poll, please raise your hand so that I can track. If I have a good number of people who have responded, then I know how to proceed. Thank you all for joining us. This is the official launch of the APF white paper on gender justice and digital rights. Currently, we are taking a poll to test how well everyone knows the landscape. So feel free to join us. Okay, I see one person has submitted. Wow. One person in a class of 52. The race has begun. Okay. The first person to complete the poll is our very dear friend, Yakumba Gassama from Florian Hewlett Foundation. Thank you for joining us. At some point during this convening, I may be inviting you to the discussion, so please stay on the line. All right. Two people have submitted. I need a few more people to do that, and we'll go right ahead. Thank you all for joining us today. For those of you who haven't submitted, if you're having second thoughts, you should think about it very well. Okay. One very interesting question says, there are no international human rights frameworks that explicitly link digital rights and digital justice. Is this true or false? I'd like to hear what you think. Very soon the poll will be ending. So if you haven't completed it, now is a good time. Now, I'm trusting that everyone on this call is a good citizen and they're not using ChatGPT on the side to check the answers. Digital rights also means there are digital wrongs. Okay, the poll will be ending in 3 minutes. Okay, if you have not voted yet, it may be too late soon. All right, so we're going to do it this way. Right when the poll ends, I will call on a few people. If you have your video on, then you're a very good candidate for me to call. So if you don't mind me calling you, you can just turn on your video during the course of this call and ensure that your audio, your background there's no interruption. So when I call you, everyone has a good experience because we're ending the poll now. But in ending the poll, you will see your results. But I want us to discuss it a little before we move forward. Okay, so now the poll will be ending in 5, 3, 1. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating. A round of applause for yourselves. I'm still trying to save time because I see someone is trying to fill it in quickly. A round of applause for yourselves for completing this poll. I know it was difficult. Some of the things you probably would not know, but yeah, you gave it a shot anyway. All right. So let's see. Are you ready? How many individuals representing philanthropists attended these convenings? A good number of you voted 1,550, about 47% of attendees here. I see because it's an uneven number, you thought you could, wiggle your way out. I'm sorry, but this one time it didn't work. The correct answer is 1,500 people. Now, the number of people who have joined in absolute figures is well over that. Some of you come and you keep coming again. But in terms of, non-repeat attendees that we can estimate, it's about 1,500. For 1,550 is a good number. So thank you for showing us. You want to see the results, Hannah? Okay. So before I show you the results, I want to hear one person. Is there anyone who has their hand up? I want to test your answer on number 2. Does anybody have their hand up? What proportion of global philanthropic funding directly supports gender equality work? Any takers? Someone says 5%. Wow. Okay, sure. I'll just show you the results. The correct answer is actually less than 2%, according to estimates by Global Fund for Women. It will surprise you that very little fund, about 1% of funding goes to gender equality work. And of that proportion, even smaller goes towards funding digital rights work, despite how important it is at this time. Okay, I see you can also see the answers. Most funding for, okay, so the next question. Mauritius actually has the highest percentage of women occupied in STEM. So if there's a Mauritian here, forgive me, I don't know Africa that well as I should. If there's someone from Mauritius here, you should be very proud. After Mauritius is South Africa, then I believe Cabo Verde. But yes, Mauritius definitely tops the list. In terms of women who hold Women hold less than 25% of technical roles globally in relation to AI, which is interesting because increasingly we are beginning to rely more and more on artificial intelligence, but women are not involved in the development of it. What are the implications of this? Would like to discuss that further as we go along. The next question is, what is one major opportunity for philanthropy to advance digital rights for women and marginalized groups? The truth is, there is no answer. Whatever you think is probably correct because we know that you are interested in this area, you're working in this area, and your thoughts count. So at some point in this meeting, we'd like to hear what those thoughts are so that those of us who are on the philanthropy side of things can actually learn from you. Um, in Now, in terms of frameworks available that links digital rights and gender justice, there are actually frameworks provided by the UN, which many countries have ratified, including, I will let the law experts type them here, and we'll get into some of what we know of policy and regulating, digital technology in the 21st century. Okay, the other things you can see the answers, so I won't talk you through it. And finally, what do you think philanthropists should do to guide inclusive digital transformation and gender justice? Again, we would like to stay tuned. We'd like you to stay tuned and we'd like to hear your thoughts in that regard. So I will now stop sharing. Thank you all very much for participating, for making this a good one. And maybe we should do it again some other time. All right. And now at this juncture, I would like to, without too much fanfare, even though we typically like fanfare at APF, formally launch our white paper. So if you have your phones with you, you bring out your phones to take selfies all the time. Now is a good time to get out your devices and, scan the QR code in front of you. If you've scanned it, if you could just indicate in the chat box, that would be very helpful. Does anybody? So this link takes you to a place where you can access the QR code on the APF website. It's such a wonderful resource, and we will be discussing it extensively very soon. All right. I see a few people that scanned. Our friends from the Israel Family Foundation. Thank you. All right. So at different points during the course of this discussion, you will still have the opportunity to do that. But while we do that, we wanted to take you down memory lane for those of you who have participated in previous discussions and those of you who are just joining us. Our work in this regard stems from our interest with ensuring that African funders deepen their knowledge and engagement with proximate entities who are advancing gender justice, leveraging digital technology. We recognize that the world is changing and digital technology is a huge part of that. And we want to ensure that African philanthropists are being supportive. And so in this area, we've constantly been ensuring that philanthropists know what they need to do, and we're attempting to unlock funds in these areas. On this slide, you would see a picture from a previous session with Mosun glowing as usual, and Rosalind, who used to be at Mozilla Foundation, now with the Global Philanthropy Project. Very insightful sessions that we have had throughout. And interestingly, between 2023, when we began these discussions, and now, about 81.8%, actually not about, 81.8% of attendees shared that the content presented at those virtual convenings were useful and relevant to their work. And many people also found avenues to find new partners to work with. So if you haven't already been reading the chats, now is a good time to find that organization that you could be partnering with. Who knows, maybe even a new funder for your work. Now, the outcome of that also, like you now know, is that over 1,500 people have joined the sessions, and we have supported, funder summits in different convenings around the world. Also coming out of that is that just this year, we hosted a parallel session during the APC conference in Cairo, focused entirely on gender justice with a lot of philanthropic players, funders, and philanthropic support organizations. And the highlight of it, if you ask me, is the fact that one of the contributors to our white paper received a Lifetime Achievement Award in recognition of her outstanding contribution to African philanthropy, especially in the area of gender equality and women's rights. So a virtual round of applause for our dear friend and APF member, Erelu Bisi Adele Fayemi. Which now takes me to the point where I will be calling our friend Diakumba very soon. Is that coming out of all of these engagements, we are recognizing that there isn't an abundance of resources that documents how African funders can begin to leverage digital technology or how they can support these kinds of organizations. There's also the fact that a lot of you who are on this call, I can see your names and I know you all, you are very busy people, right? And there's competing demands on your time. And so even for the learning sessions that we have, you can't always take advantage of those. And we also know that if you do not have the information that you need to effectively support proximate organizations, then funding would not move. And one of our solutions in that regard is ensuring that philanthropists, philanthropic organizations, and even gender justice activism groups and digital rights groups who want to do things in this area have access to timely, up-to-date information. And what we have done is to summarize the perspectives of some key thought leaders who have participated in this series over the last 2 years to document their knowledge in ways that you can now access it. So by simply scanning this QR code, you now have access to that information. Inside that resource, you would find um, chapters covering an attempt to give you an overview of what has changed. How is philanthropy currently engaging? So if you had read that document, you will know that less than 2% of philanthropic funding goes to gender justice and civil rights groups. And, providing all of that data that you need to begin to take action and some of the things that philanthropy can begin to do at this crossroads. We also begin to examine what are the best practices for funding proximate organizations, especially those who are working in this area. Because it's a new area, it's a risk that philanthropists must take. How should they take the risks? What challenges do organizations working in this area typically encounter? These are some of the things that we cover here. So if you go right ahead to scan the QR code, you'd definitely find access to that information. So if you haven't already, this is your quarter to the last chance to use this link. Also, during the course of this call, my colleague will put the link for you to access that in the chat, which I believe she has already. Oh, yes, she has, so that you can also access it. There's also a dedicated chapter that covers how we should be collaborating going forward. There's a lot of you on this call who should be partners, some of you who already are partners. How should we be collaborating? What makes these collaborations successful? And so this chapter covers that. We also provide recommendations for building a gender-inclusive digital future with the development of AI, with education, with workplace policies. What should we be doing to better support gender-inclusive digital technology? All of this covers that, and we provide some of the solutions, and the highlights are there. And so, if you haven't already, I will just leave this here for a few seconds. So, thank you all very much. A round of applause to you for listening to me. Just give you these highlights for now. And so, at this juncture, we would like to hear from you. What has your experience been for those of you currently funding in this area who are working in this area? But before we go that, I would like to open the floor to a dear friend of APF, just to ask her thoughts before we open the floor, if that's okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Diakumba Sama. Hello,
Yinka.
Dia.
Hello, Yinka. For some reason, my video has been taken over by whomever is the custodian of the call. So I'm told, so now it's okay. Okay. All of you who know me know that my voice is normally not like this and I don't look like this. But think about the way you looked at 5:23 this morning. This is the time that it's here in California. It's always a pleasure to join APF and its members and its partners. You're the only people that my son and I wake up for at this time. It's not a lie. For me, this kind of moments are very important as a Pan-African in philanthropy, because we are now on the other side of the table. And to be able to use, as soon as you launched, and somebody kindly put the link, I accessed the document and I shared it with all my networks here in the US, the Europe-based funders who want to do good in Africa, UN, etc. Because there's a saying that I crafted over the years that says that the lies take the elevator, but the truth always finds the stairs. I really commend you and salute you for all the efforts that you do, not only as APF as an institution, but also all of you who are African philanthropists, real ones. When people are asking me to speak, I'm like, yes, I'm an African in philanthropy, but I'm not an African philanthropist. It's not my money. It's my time is being paid for. So I'm just at the service of the movement. And I love that you called me a friend of APF, but I don't deserve this title yet. I'm working very hard to support APF Forum the way I have supported the African Philanthropy Network, the Africa Philanthropy Conference. I'm an egalitarian and a gender just person. So once you get a full fund for your forum, then you can call me family. I thank you very much, Mosun. I see you. This voice is annoying me. As you know, I'm a worker by day, I'm a philanthropist by day, and I'm an activist all the rest of the time. I want to use this opportunity to ask all of you to please show your Africanness by supporting all the efforts to bring peace to all the corners of our continent. I've been speaking to many different people, and this is why I lost my voice, about what's happening to the great nation of Sudan and the great people that are unfortunately at the hands of the most horrendous expression of racial injustice. Thank you very much. And I'm here until the next hour and a half when His Royal Highness, my son, Malikala Yoselo, I don't know if you can see him, will decide that mommy has to become mommy again. Thank you very much, Yinka and Mosun and the team.
All right, thank you very much, Dia. As you heard from Dia, by day she does work in philanthropy, and by night she's an activist. And so for all of you who have joined us, we know that your work is very important, very central. As you now go to our white paper, we wanted to ask the House very quickly. We know that we are aware of how funding is changing in the world from the global north and within Africa. And so we'd like to know, what challenges or resistance have you encountered? Is it shifting global priorities? Is it reduced funding from traditional donors? Is it pushback against gender-focused programming? What has your experience been in this regard, and how are you navigating those changes within your organization? We'd very much like to hear from you. So if there's anyone who'd like to speak to this, to speak to this, please let me know by raising your hand and turning on your video. If you still need the link to the white paper, please let us know in the chat. Okay, any takers? We have glowing praise from Gassam, from Dia, where she says this white paper is gold and framework and gives a good framework for restorative justice. Thank you. Thank you very much. So yes, Dia, I was going to ask you if you don't mind coming up again one last time.
Yinka, were you talking to me? Sorry.
Yes, please. Just one last question for you.
Yes, yes. You know, the way you framed, sorry, my phone is for some reason resisting me. Now I can hear you. So the way you framed the question might explain the silence. One very important thing for all of us, we have survived post October 2023. I don't need to say what happened in October 2023. You all know. We have survived 2024. We have survived 2025. And if we have survived as people, because I was looking at the chat, I think everybody is in philanthropy, right, Yinka? Yes.
Most people are, yes.
Yes. So if we have survived as individual philanthropists, institutional philanthropists, it's because, and I would love to hear others share, we have managed to decenter what is wrong. We have managed to decenter the people who don't live the same life like us or who don't believe in the work we do. We have centered our focus on the opportunities that this represents. You can check my LinkedIn. I post I try to elevate some voices. Our dear friend Moses, I don't know if he's on the call, from the Ugandan NGO Forum, has written a brilliant article that goes so well in pair with your white paper, that explains that where people see, I think the title is When a Giant Falls, the village is liberated. The giant is international aid. The village, it's us, the African people, and the Latinos, and all the people from the global majority. The dismantling of a very unjust system of inequality between nation and inequality within nation is to be celebrated by people like us, because what used to be seen as the standard of excellence has shown its limit. For many years, many people here on the call, I see you, Dorothy, and others, have been writing. Nobody was reading. But now it's all about reimagining. So, Yinka, the question to ask our dear colleagues here, let me take what you wrote. It was perfect, but it's like switching a little bit so that you will see everybody will raise the hand. It's not about challenges and resistance that we have encountered. We all know what it is. The global, the shifting, the traditional donors, prayers. Where is it? It's how are the colleagues and the comrades on the call using the opportunity that our countries, our governments, nearly a year ago at the African Union Summit, have said that reparatory justice and the fact that a few individuals in the Western world were able to switch off, we discussed that in our last call with APF member, to switch off the education systems, the health systems, and many other systems of the continent is a shame on all of them. And I believe it's the president of Ghana who said, this is our opportunity for us to actually do what we're supposed to do. And they called on us, the private sector, the philanthropy, the civil society, to support them. So this is what the white paper is adding to us, is a roadmap for each of us to play our role. So the question here, my dear comrades on the table that Yinka wants you to answer is not so much by to the former world. It's more, what role do you see yourself playing in this new world that all our prayers, whether you're Christian, Muslim, or whatever, everything that you dreamed of on today, 10th of December 2025, International Human Rights Day. Let us celebrate and rejoice that the moment has come for us to be free at last. Thank you, Yinka. With this, I won't say a word again. There's a lot of very intelligent people here who are exercising their right to be silent, and I'm not happy. Please speak, or Bebe Malik will sing.
Thank you, dear. Right, so phrasing it that way, I would like to open the floor to anyone who, how are we taking advantage of what is changing in our landscape today? Okay, does anybody want to respond?
Yinka, do like you did for me. Volunteer people.
So I will volunteer my friends first. I will start with Caroline Teti. Hello, Caroline.
Just coming on camera. Hi, Inka. How are you?
Well, thank you.
So excited to hear the energy that Dia is bringing into the table. I wish I had even half of that energy. Yeah, I actually wanted to chime into this conversation, and I can't agree more with Dia. And having been in this sector for over 2 decades, I see how we have been sitting in a space of comfort as development workers, as we watch our brothers and sisters, our mothers and fathers getting wasted by the hegemony that has been defined as development and modernization. The one thing that we should start asking ourselves is, why are we looking for money through whatever sources, whether that is philanthropy or whatever it is? It is because we have identified a lack, but that lack has been defined to us by someone else, and it has been given a name that starts with PO, for poverty. And that poverty has been defined from the lens of someone else. And now that someone else is telling us, we are sorry, but if you thought we were coming to solve this problem that we created, that is called poverty, we are gone. And you will not see us. The biggest colonization that we have experienced as a continent is the lack of informational capability. It is not ignorance. It is you and me who have the opportunity to sit in rooms like this, who access information about hegemony and the colonized mentality that we've been living in for years, getting information and the truth, and then coming back and sitting in our offices, beckoning the same colonization upon our people. If there is anything that we should do before we go out to look for money, let us go out to harness information and bring information to our people. Because that lack of information is the reason trillions of dollars that have been put in Africa in the form of aid has kept us poor. Because how do you explain to me how my villager can sit somewhere and wait for some program designed by someone who has seen profits and has told them, now you can actually get a product on credit? I don't know if it's happening in your countries, but in my country, they sell solar, they sell phones, they sell TVs, and they are sold on credit. And these people who have been called poor end up paying 3 to 4 times of the cost of those items because they do not know. Somebody has presented them as cheap, affordable, and less pressure. Yet that person has already choreographed the profit pipeline and has made the calculation for how we are going to position this as solving the problem that is poverty. But at the back of it, it is capitalist interests. And when you think about it, the person who suffers the most are the women. They are the ones who are so gullible and culpable to these things. Those are just a few examples. Let us find ways in which we can be able to empower ourselves with information. If we have community-based organizations, how can African philanthropy support us to disseminate information downwards so that we can empower people with information? I'm going to give you another example. One time I was running a training for community-based organizations, teaching them how the budget process in Kenya happens and how they should position themselves to make sure that they're claiming their rights within the budget process. And one woman came up and said, Caroline, I don't think you are so educated than me because I have a master's degree. But the things you're saying, I feel like a child before you. I feel so ashamed of myself because I feel like I never went to school. Why are these things in your head and they're not in my head? And then she explains to me what she's doing with a community-based organization that she's running, which doesn't have any funding. She makes hair wigs. They weave, they knit all sorts and manner of things, children's clothing, and with women living with disability. Never got any funding. Our benefactors organize what they are calling International Days of what and what and what. Sorry, dear, you talked about International Day of Human Rights. I'm sorry if I'm stepping on that. But this is a woman who was always placed as a trophy girl to be bringing women living with disability to every international day of whatever it is that they wanted to call it. And they would give her people $20 each for sitting in the sun the whole day to showcase themselves as people living with disability, involved and included. And I sat her down and I told her, you know what? This must get out of your head. Those women must get resources, and they will start with the government of Kenya. You're going to access the social protection money from the government of Kenya. After that, you will go to your county and you're going to get money from your county. And then we will start looking for who else can support you. And today she's running a really vibrant organization. She didn't need all the money. She needed the information to unlock. And it is that information that has kept her stuck. We don't have all the luxury of the funding because the big boys have decided it is time. This is our time. In fact, they should have gone yesterday. In 2024, a research showed that resources left the American government through USAID to go and help those who they call poor. But only 2% of that money reached our villages. And I'm referring to our villages very intentionally. Why? Because that is where poverty is defined. Poverty is defined from rural villages and urban informal settlements. But they only got 2%. Why? Because 84% remained in Washington. Another 14% was financing middlemen in the form of international NGOs. Meanwhile, our people remain as the trophies for marketing this injustice.
Thank you, Caroline. I don't
I
think.
want to say this
Oh,
final thing before I go. This is the final thing I want to say. When someone says Africa is an emerging market, think about what that means. Why are we an emerging market? Poverty feeds capitalism. Thank you, Yinka.
thank you very much, Karen. And this is the perfect way to set us. Now, I like how this is panning out. Very strong points that you have made. And I see what you mean about how access to information affects the ways in which those on the ground can move development forward and how we must begin to challenge thinking in those ways. Thank you very much. Now, in terms of how funding, now there's what we know of how funding should work and how funding actually operates in the world today. So I will be inviting very soon someone who has done extensive time at the, or used to be at the Ford Foundation, is a prominent feminist activist. I would like to invite Funke Barua. Hello, Ms. Funke Barua. I have one question for you. Okay, I believe she can hear me. And so my question is
Yes,
really
I can
this.
hear you, Yinka. Hello, Yinka. Hello, everyone.
Thanks for joining us. Now, in terms of your experience, you've done extensive time with donors who were willing to take risks in relation to new areas such as funding women's work, funding work in digital technologies. Given how funding is changing and the things that Caroline and Dia have pointed out, what risks or opportunities should new and existing funders be mindful of as they begin to engage in this space to ensure that the funding in which they begin to put out, achieves the aim that it accomplishes, and we don't have the same story of just 2% actually being put to work? Over to you.
Thank you, Yinka, and thank you, everyone. I've been listening to the conversation, and I'm really impressed by the way we are being honest with one another. This is one of the few platforms where I've seen that we're saying things as they are. We're not trying to be politically correct. And so that is a good sign that all hope is not lost. So I really want to commend the speakers for just saying it as it is. I'm one of those who, I'm sorry, I can't put my video on there's so much light in my background, so it's not showing well where I am right now. And I'm just tired also of there's a word I would like to use, but it's a formal platform, so we have to be, I'm sort of tired of, the drudgery, and it's like, when will the scales, finally fall from our eyes? So for me, when an era where technology is shaping every aspect of our lives, and I've looked at, gone through a little bit of the report when I got it on, who is on the line, Connecting Philanthropy. And for me, it offers an urgent call to action and reminds us that investments in digital transformation, no matter how well intentioned, carry real implications for gender equality, for personal safety, and for civic participation. And if anything, if what happened in January with the cutting of funding to USAID, not just USAID, all others followed suit, is anything to go by, funders need to understand that entering or expanding in this case, in the current philanthropy space, there's a core message that should be clear, and that is that when we even talk about digital rights, for instance, and gender justice, they're inseparable. And that the model for funding, the model for resourcing the work that we do in this space is obsolete. We need to be thinking about other forms, the model of just showcasing one or two people, poor women or women with disabilities, or funding or projectizing everything around women's rights year in, year out, and just plain tokenism is over. And that hasn't served us well. And it will not serve us well in the future that we're entering. So for me, having worked in this space, I've been someone that has, wherever I found myself, even as a former USAID staff myself, I have always pushed for money getting to those at the margins of society. It's not been a popular opinion. I've gotten into trouble a lot of times with it, and I will continue, and I will do this over and over again wherever I find myself. because ultimately, the only progress that we will see and that we can share impact stories about will be those at the margins of society, will be the beneficiaries who wear the shoe and where the shoe who knows where the shoe pinches. So back to your question, Yinka, it will be for us to end the era of projectizing funding. It's been years and decades since philanthropy started. It is time that institutional funding becomes status quo, not an exception. It should become the norm. All funding should not be 6 months to do this, 6 months to do that, one activity or the organizations were formed with certain visions in mind, mission, vision. People have their strategic plans. They have what they want to do. And that is left for funders to begin to target those resources to the ideals of those organizations rather than make women's rights organizations, specifically community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, those who work on gender justice and human rights issues, continue to scrap their strategies together, continue to twist their strategies, scrap activities together just to secure resources. We are playing to the gallery. Unless, and it's so sad to see, I mean, an organization that I recently also worked with, the Ford Foundation, is now also scrapped the Build Fund, which was a phenomenal kind of resource that would have changed the landscape of resourcing for not-for-profits, and especially for women's rights organizations, who, for most of the work that we do, and I'm speaking as someone who also founded and led a women's rights organization, you know, some of the things that we do are not easy to show the impact in the, you know, in 2 to 3 years that most of this project funding address. So yeah, for funders entering and expanding this space, any strategy that overlooks the lived experience of women, the lived experience of girls and gender diverse people, especially facing those intersecting inequalities, they risk reinforcing the harms that it aims to solve. And that's what we need to look at. That new and existing funders, therefore, must be mindful of several risks. First is the risk of amplifying structural inequalities through technologies that are either biased, opaque, or poorly regulated. The second is the risk of weakening the digital space by supporting tools or platforms that enable surveillance, whether it's harassment or exclusion. And the third, of course, is the risk of privileging short-term technological fixes over community-driven right-based solutions. So for me, the report challenges us to fund with intention, to center feminist movements, to protect fundamental human rights, to interrogate power imbalances in tech, ecosystems, in philanthropic ecosystems, and ensure that our resources build safer and more equitable futures, not just, replicating the old injustices in new forms. And I like the numbers that you reeled out earlier, Yinka, in terms of how much even gets to women's rights organizations or gets to gender justice work or gets to gender inequality work. It's absurd to think that even in 2025, we're still having this conversation. So what I would like to see is more organizations moving toward core funding, moving towards institutional support, trusting that the organizations that are doing this work know where the shoe pinches, and that's where trust-based philanthropy comes in. Thank you very much, Yinka. I'd like to stop here.
Thank you very much. Excellent submission. And that is right along the lines of what our white paper also covers. So if you read this recommendation section, one of the recommendations we put forward is that people should listen to proximate entities, fund proximate entities, and center proximate entities in their work. So thank you so much for saying that so eloquently. So if you haven't already, now is a good time to download the white paper. And if you download the white paper, you know that one of the things that the APF tries to do is to ensure that funding moves towards proximate entities. And one of the ways we do that is through our work with StartPoint, which we would, if time permits, we would go into some detail around. And so I also like the point Ms. Funke made earlier about the percentage of funding that needs to go to proximate entities. And so I would at this point, I'd like to call someone, a representative of an organization who has been doing phenomenal work moving funding towards proximate entities, even in difficult times such as this. So welcome with me, Bernadette Moffat from Elma Philanthropies. Hello, Bernadette. I bet you didn't see this one coming.
Hello, Yinka. Hello, everyone.
Okay.
I'm not camera ready, so I'll stay in the background. Yeah, I mean, I think I could only concur and affirm what has been said, that this is an opportunity for us to take up self-determination and to start to not be led by the nose of the development experts who've been preaching to us. One of the words that drives me absolutely crazy is capacity building. A lot of money is spent on so-called capacity building. And I keep asking myself, why is it that we Africans are so daft that our capacity is endlessly being built? And so I do think that this is an opportunity for organizations to really reflect and help to inform those of us who are helping to direct resources on what it is that they truly need. Now, our organization, a part of it, in a small way, has been working directly with community-based organizations and giving them core funding for the past now 13 years. And it does not fail to surprise me how often organizations that were doing really well with very limited resources from outside have now been directed into these silos that really do not look at their communities in a holistic way. And that's because of the determination of development funders that they will only fund a particular project. I think I don't want to undermine the hard work people are doing to try and crowdsource these resources towards the work that they're doing and towards their communities. But I really do think one of the challenges that we should be grappling with at APF is how we engage the conversation from those who are directing resources and those who are working at the community level. And that's the conversation we need to start having so that those of us who are at the kind of APF membership level are doing so in collaboration and in conjunction and not just relying on our own ideas. That's what I'm looking for, is that conversation between ourselves and the implementers on the ground about how they want to receive the contributions that we have.
Thank you much, Bernadette. And that sounds like assignment for APF. And thank you so much for putting those thoughts forward. Very interested to hear your work and your experience with moving for funding towards proximate organizations. And I completely agree with you about being sick and tired of the word capacity building. I see the additional thoughts in the comments, which I can't read out, but I hope you all will get the chance to. If this was in the olden days, or not let me say olden days like it was that far away, is that we all would have gathered in some room and there would be an entire workshop agenda and there would be tea break and there would be the chance for us to take pictures. So although this is digital technology and we're doing this virtually, we still want that to continue. So very quickly at this juncture, we'd like to take a virtual group photograph if that's possible. So everyone, if you're on the call and if you can be, just turn on your cameras very quickly. Ooh, this is why Mosi is one of my favorite people on earth. She is never not ready for a good picture. Okay, so if you could please take, we'll take a quick picture. Wow, everyone looks lovely. Now I'm tempted to wear makeup, but it's a little too late. Thank you, everyone, for being good sports. So we're taking the picture now. Big smiles. For those of you who may be dark skinned and I won't see your face, so maybe your teeth will show in the picture. Are we ready? Big smiles, everyone. Mr. David Molava, big smile. Okay, perfect. Thank you all so much. Thank you for contributing your thoughts. If you haven't, please use the link to download the white paper. And I would like to pass the baton very quickly to my boss, the Mayoga at the top, Osmo Layode. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yinka. I didn't know you were handing this back to me at this point. And when Yinka was speaking, I thought only a Gen Z would say in the olden days for gathering in the gathering in the room with team break. That was just 5 years ago, pre-pandemic. But thank you, Yinka. Well done for steering the conversation and a very important one. I want to say thank you to you all on this call. And Diakumba, thank you so much for being so candid and always challenging us and sharing from your heart. It was wonderful to have you, Caroline. And Caroline was one of those who spoke in the earlier series that we had, and we're happy that she was able to join us today as well. Thank you, Funke. You're a paragon in this space. We are happy that you were able to make this and also speak truth to power. And finally, our dear Bernadette from South Africa, thank you for contributing. We really do appreciate that. Our work is cut out for us, not just as APF, the entire ecosystem, but definitely at APF, there's a lot on our plate. We have spoken at so many gatherings this year, and we're always quick to let everyone know that this is not a problem. This is an opportunity for us as Africans to step up and do so quickly. For those who have been giving in the space, to give more. For those who haven't been, this is the opportunity to begin to engage in the space. And that's why there's an organization such as APF that has a very number of members. We have those who are aspiring philanthropists. We have those who are established philanthropists. And this is a safe space where people come together and they can learn and share and see how they can do their philanthropy in a way that is more structured and impactful. And also in a way that in the coming years, we're not going to be having the same conversation. We're actually showing figures. We are moving forward. We are not dependent on the global north, but we are taking the lead. And if anyone wants to support us, they can come, but they are not telling us what to fund, how to fund, who to give money to. We are the driver's seat, and we are responsible for our own development. That's why we exist at APF. The reason there is, I tell people the funding shift is not a problem for us at APF because that's why we were established. That's what we're here for. And I'm encouraged by what we're beginning to see, the shift we're beginning to see. It's not moving as fast as we would like, but we see traction. And next year is a defining moment for us at the African Philanthropy Forum and also in the African philanthropy space. And that's why our upcoming conference is so important. We're gathering in Cape Town near Bernadette next year. I can see Diakumba is already excited and getting ready. Abigail is smiling. I'm sure the wheels in her brain are turning, thinking of how she's going to leverage that conference. So we're looking forward to seeing you all. I see the South Africans reacting, or those based in South Africa, even if they are not South Africans. I love the reaction that I'm getting. But it is going to be our conference. And when I say our conference, it's going to be a conference of Africans really coming together also with the global South, other countries in the global South, and learning how they have moved forward, how they have advanced homegrown philanthropy, what we can learn from them, and also how we as Africans can move the needle and move from talk to action. So save the date. You probably already have the dates if you're on our mailing list. If you're not on our mailing list, we will put you on our mailing list after this, if this is your first time of joining the conversation. October 25th to 27th, we are all going to be in Cape Town. Get ready. You have enough notice, and it is going to be us in the Global South answering the difficult questions, challenging ourselves to do more in a way that things are not going to be the same again. So thank you all for joining us again. I said at the beginning, this is an extremely busy time of the year, and we're honored that you chose to spend 1 hour with us. Thank you, Yinka, and to the APF team on the call. Bye-bye, everyone.
Well done. Bye bye, Mosun. Merci. Shukran.